Hi there, this is Helen here. I'm a market analyst at IDC Malaysia.
Hi there, this is Firas, and I am a market analyst in IDC Malaysia. Welcome to IDC Tech Chronicles,
where we bring you the stories behind the data. IDC Tech Chronicles, the podcast brought to you by IDC Market Research Malaysia. Welcome back to our third episode, where we will be discussing the top 2017 IT predictions with our very own analysts from IDC Malaysia.
So every year, IDC releases a set of predictions that identify issues that CIOs and senior technology professionals will confront within the typical 3-year business planning cycle.
So based on the data from IDC surveys, the predictions provide a guidance on how important areas of technology are trending, and they also offer guidance on the direction that enterprises should take as they manage the fast-changing world of technology that fuels their businesses. And now we have Jun Fwu Chin, who is the research director at IDC, and his prediction is based on data centers.
This is honestly a treat for us to have you here. You're one of the finest analysts that we have in IDC Malaysia. And as you already know, that this is a special series covering the ICT Malaysia Predictions 2017, and you will be talking about your predictions. So can you just start by explaining to us or giving us an idea about your current role in IDC Malaysia?
Sure, thanks for us. Well, I've been with IDC for a very long time. I also had the dual role when it comes to research responsibility, where I'm also managing the data center research for Asia Pac.
Okay.
So it is one of those annual exercises that we do, where we develop a document of top 10 predictions on data center.
Okay.
So the prediction that we're going to talk about today, it's actually one of the 10 predictions that we have seen that we expect to happen in the region.
Correct.
And not just particularly in Malaysia. But it is a very important prediction because it's really a vision of data center. And we are talking about the various maturity of data center adoption within the whole region, right? Country by country. So I think it will be interesting to look at Malaysia and how Malaysia actually stack up against the other countries within the region.
Yep, correct. All right, so I don't know much about data centers. Before we get into the prediction, can you give us an idea, an overview of what is a data center?
If you asked me this question 5 years ago, I think everyone would have an assumption that data center is a glorified storage room for computers, right?
Pretty much.
Well, no, it's no longer that case. The truth is, new type of data center, not just from appearance, from functions on what it delivers, are very different now, right? I think most of us would have seen plenty of pictures of a highly virtualized data center when you're no longer looking at physical boxes.
Pretty much.
You're looking at virtual packet of data flowing around, right? And you're talking about data center that exists in multiple locations, right?
Okay.
And you're talking about data centers who no longer rely on your traditional power and cooling, right? Container data centers, right? Where the organization are looking at identifying countries and geographic location where you want to put in a container of server and storage, which has natural cooling.
Okay.
Right, renewable energy, all these are topics that it's become very, very relevant, and it really leads into what we have predicted as a data center vision.
Okay.
Right, what we have seen as data center as generally a storage of records to something that it should be actionable, because it is very much where the core data is stored.
Okay, so just to simplify it, we can say that it's a storage, a server, and it acts as a data kind of.
Yeah, sometimes occasionally you get people getting in there for air condition.
Okay, for cooling. I heard the fan is very good. Okay, cool.
Okay, so you mentioned the prediction for data center vision. So if we just dive deeper into that, one of your predictions said that by 2018, 25% of companies in data-intensive industries will adopt formal data center planning, sourcing, and governance processes to speed digital transformation efforts. So if we could just elaborate further, what does that prediction mean?
Well, it's really quite a mouthful, right? Even from
Yeah.
you. That,
Yes.
I think to put it in a very layman term, it's a different type of data center that everyone is looking at now, right? Data center vision is no longer governed by a physical location of a data center, because data in this digital economy, data and information are created virtually everywhere, anytime.
Real time, correct.
A company cannot make a decision based on only information that they own or they have access to, right? Even if they have access to, that information could be located physically somewhere else. So it is a data center vision where organizations are no longer just looking at designing and construction a data center that could last them for the next 10 years, right? How will it last them for the next 10 years where you have enough connectivity points to data centers or storage of data in a third-party location?
Which is easily accessible.
Exactly,
Okay.
right? Would an organization still need to go through a procurement process of months and weeks just to get enough compute and storage when there's so much compute and storage out there that could easily obtain within seconds and minutes?
Okay.
Right, and a lot of this really is driven from the whole digital transformation initiative, how business are transforming related to their response to customer needs. All these are changing, right? The application that the organization adopt are cloud-based, for example, right? So what it means it's there's a lot of scale, right? It requires a lot of scale. It are typically very busty, right? Whenever there is a need, can an organization react by expanding their data center by another 10,000 square feet? It doesn't work that way.
No,
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
so that's really a data center vision of what we are predicting, right? That the design and construction of data center, I would say that it's no longer just the on-premise facilities, but it's really relying on what's out there that they can leverage on.
Okay, got that. So it's interesting you brought up digital transformation, digital economy, which brings me to my next question. What is the relationship between data centers now and digital transformation?
I'm just going to put it on a very short answer and a very casual answer on this. Digital transformation relates to data economy. Digital data economy, right?
Okay.
And where do data resides? Data centers. Exactly what.
Okay.
And I guess what I could elaborate more on that is, it's no longer the on-premise data centers where the data, we spoke about this earlier on, right?
Correct.
No longer in the on-premise data center the organization own now. You're talking about those that are owned, that resides outside on the cloud. But I want to take it even one step further with all the IoT initiative that's happening, right? Data centers with all the sensors that's being deployed, what we call as the edge IT.
Okay.
Right. There are more information that's created, and there's even a outer reach for organization for this information.
Correct.
Right. I wouldn't want to put myself in the CIO shoes now, where you have to not only manage how many servers and how many storage that I have, but on how many of this data are actually sitting outside, which I know and which I don't.
Correct.
And even further to that, on the edge. Okay.
So, with this type of integration, what would be the general impact on the IT industry?
I think the Malaysia organization are facing a bit of a challenge when it comes to legacy infrastructure, right? Where a lot of the spending has been focusing on keeping the lights on, right? Of maintaining the current system of records, which is your on-prem data centers. What is the next step, and what is the vision on them in embracing, right, and in accepting that adoption of cloud-based application is already happening in those organizations, in their organization? How can not just on seeking control over this information, but embracing how can this information help them in business driven initiative? I think those are important factors that our organization should be thinking.
Okay. Part of your predictions, I've read that there are system integrators and solution providers or service providers. What's the difference between both? If you can just tell me.
I think it's really a big ecosystem where you have system integrators who are advising organization on integrating on-premise infrastructure with off-premise IT assets, right? Whereas the role that service provider plays is just going to be as important, because another predictions that we have put in on data center, it's also where the IT assets is going to reside in the next 3 years, right? Where we are seeing most of the physical boxes is within an on-prem, right? Now with cloud, with edge, majority, in fact, I would even be bold enough to say that maybe 2/3 of IT assets in the next 5 years could be sitting outside. Right?
By sitting outside, you mean
it could be in a
renting?
public cloud service providers. It could be a co-location site, a hosting site, or it could be just compute and storage that's entirely owned by third-party service providers, where organizations are renting and paying for a form of service.
Are there organizations that are solely that's their job, that's what they do, they just host?
There are plenty of those, right? If you look at Microsoft Azure, AWS, those are all pioneers of this public cloud services.
Yeah.
I guess to summarize this, I think organizations in Malaysia still prefer to manage their own infrastructure and application through an internal resource, right? Something you can control rather than relying on an outsourced service or a public cloud service, etc., right?
Okay.
But given traditional in-house deployment of services will decrease gradually, right? And then it's going to be a global, not just global pressure, right? Every other organization is going to do that. Why you want to own that much IT assets when you could easily go out and rent some of this?
Okay.
Right? And the value that you get and the alignment that you need to work along with the business decision maker, IT, being strategic assets, it's very, very important. And this really would increase the pressure on traditional business to transform what they are going through when it comes to really a data center vision of maybe not even having a data center.
Okay. Does it cost less to rent out these public spots on cloud?
I guess it's really subjective based on different industry, different business case, etc. But in actual, why not?
It should, right?
Why not?
Yeah. Okay. Jun Fwu, thank you so much for your time. There's just one last question that we ask all our interviewees. Basically, give us or give the CIOs or end users any key tips, any key advice, something they can take out of these predictions that you have put out.
Come to us more.
And now we have QX Ng, who is a software analyst, and his prediction is based on big data. All right, and right now we have Ng Quan Xiong, or also known as QX, is that right?
Yep, that's right.
All right, and he's a software analyst, and one of his predictions is on big data.
Yep.
So,
welcome to IDC Tech Chronicles, QX.
Indeed.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
No problems. We'd like to get an understanding of your current role in IDC.
Okay, let me just briefly introduce myself. So, my name is Ng Quan Xiong. You also can call me by the name of QX.
Yep.
So, basically, I'm a software analyst for IDC Malaysia, taking care of the enterprise application, which covers the enterprise resource management, supply chain management, operations and manufacturing, and customer relationship management. In addition, I also take care of the database market, and last but not least, business analytics and business intelligence for Malaysia.
Cool, thanks a lot. So, what is big data?
Okay, big data, if I were to explain it from basic, so big data is actually a technology that extracts value from very large volumes of data from various sources. So that per se, meaning information will normally come from structured data, which are all your data that resides in a fixed field within a record, or a file such as the form we fill when we are in a government department or even in a hospital. And as for unstructured data, it'll be more like data from multimedia content, text, audio, video, social media, you name it.
okay.
So the big data technology will involve a software portion where the software will pull raw data from various data points such as servers and storage, which belongs to the hardware portion. And last but not least, we also have a component called the services component, whereby service provider will provide training and implementation and support service for the tech buyer.
I see.
Interesting.
Okay, so moving on to your prediction, which was in cloud solutions. So by 2018, new cloud pricing models will emerge for specific analytics workloads, where the growth for cloud analytics solutions will be 3 times more than on-premise analytics solutions.
Wow.
So can you just put that into layman terms for our listeners.
Make it for us too. Like, we
Okay.
don't understand.
Yes.
Well, before we go to the simpler term, I think I should explain the core G's of it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So in this sense, it will be more like in parallel with the general move to the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So we expect the emergence of a specialized cloud service provider, bringing cost efficiency, meaning that now moving forward, it will be not just pay as you use, but pay as how you use. So to simplify that, many will say that vendors will be specialized in a certain analytics workload solutions, such as your CRM analytics, your human resource analytics, and tech buyers, which is the enterprises,
Yeah.
will be able to subscribe to one of these solutions on cloud and only just pay for one of the module instead of paying for one lump sum.
Okay.
So therefore, overall in the long term, the overall cost will decrease, and this will drive more adoption for cloud-based solutions.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That is the layman's explanation.
Yes, as layman as you can go.
Quite a bit to absorb.
Yeah. So if no one
And let me
understands,
just
you
add
can
on
always get in
one
touch with QX.
Oh yeah, sure thing. So yeah, just to add one more point.
Okay.
So in terms of this, the other benefit would be the cost efficiency, because nowadays companies are looking at to reduce their capital expenditure and have a stable operation expenditure. So cloud solution allows that to happen because your subscription based on cloud will be a constant rate, and this will be more friendly for.
You mean like a flat rate, like how Wi-Fi is for us now?
In a way, you can put it that way.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yep.
You mentioned enterprises. Where do you see the growth in terms of verticals for adoption?
Okay, from what I see is the government, the government has already started adopting cloud technology by putting non-critical application on the cloud, such as your email.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good start if the government is already taking an initiative to move on application to the cloud. So I think follow suit. Next will be all the other verticals that is in Malaysia.
Okay, so they'll be spearheading the adoption rate.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So what I also see is like startups from various verticals are among the popular industry that are adopting cloud solution. Mainly is because when they start up, they have little budget to invest heavily on their capital expenditure, and they will rather just stick to OPEX expenditure. In addition, the FSI and telco, despite being strict when it comes to cloud adoption, because they cannot put sensitive information such as customer personal data, but I think that they are the next moving on to cloud.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I see in Malaysia.
Excellent. Okay.
But is it possible for cloud analytics adoption to grow any faster?
Honestly, I think that considering that on-premise used to be the initial deployment method for analytics, and for cloud analytics to grow 3 times more than on-premise in the next 1 or 2 years, I would see that that's actually very good already. So for it to grow even faster, I foresee that that to happen only in the next 5 years or so, because we are still in the initial stage of moving on to cloud.
Okay.
So, but I do believe that eventually in the Malaysian market will see such a growth for cloud analytics as awareness of its benefits continue to grow in the market.
Okay, so you said that big data is supposed to be growing in the coming years. Do you have an idea of the rate of this growth, or are we expecting big growth or double digits or?
I don't have a specific number to it, but
Okay.
I mean, because on-premise deployment is already big enough. I mean, that's the traditional method of deploying any form of software.
Okay.
So now that suddenly we are talking about for cloud to grow 3 times more than on-premise, I think the number will be big.
Okay.
And eventually on-premise deployment for analytics will decrease and more people will adopt the cloud analytics
Excellent.
deployment method.
Okay.
Okay, so actually talking about on-prem deployment, in what way is cloud deployment would be more beneficial compared to on-prem deployment?
Okay, so I think the key for enterprises is always everything is all about cost, right? So because now that the benefits would be if they move on the cloud, they do not have to hire IT personnel, they don't have to hire IT department, invest heavily in their hardware, storage, space, So therefore, by outsourcing it all to the software as a service provider, so this will help them to eliminate all of this. So, and all they have to do is just pay a subscription fee every month or per annum.
Okay.
Right. And in addition, they don't have to worry anything about upgrades, maintenance of the server, and all this will be done all as per what they have subscribed.
Okay.
see.
And the stats in this program, is it based on a survey, right? I think there's a survey based here.
Oh yeah. So if you were to see how big data will grow in the coming years, so according to IDC AP Software Study 2016, there's a total of about 42% respondent from Malaysian organizations from across various industries are planning to deploy cloud-based analytics software in the next 1 to 2 years. And in addition, some has already deployed some form of analytics solution already. So we as IDC, we foresee that Malaysian organizations will continue to shift more critical applications onto the cloud platform, which will see demand for cloud analytics eventually increase over the years.
All right, hopefully. So basically, like for cloud adoption, people who want to get into cloud adoption and listeners out there, what kind of tips can you give as an analyst from IDC?
But before moving on to that, actually, there's another point I wanted to add, right? So for big data in Malaysia, right, in addition to what I mentioned earlier on about the survey data that Malaysians are slowly moving on to the cloud analytics, right? So the government of Malaysia is playing a huge role whereby they are actually taking a lot of initiative to increase the talent pool of big data analytics and data scientists in Malaysia by partnering with local universities.
Wow, that's great.
To offer big data courses. So I think there's actually a good start for Malaysia being one of the best countries in Southeast Asia in terms of adoption of clouds and analytics as well.
Great.
So yeah.
Great. So in this term, would you be able to maybe give more hope for the Malaysian audience?
Okay, yeah, sure. So in general, right, what we can see is companies are currently seeking to improve their competitiveness in the market. I believe that they should embark on the BDA journey, big data analytics journey. So by doing so, you as the owner, or maybe you're even your top management of your company can obtain accurate information in a faster manner, which will allow faster data-driven strategic decision making. This is actually very crucial, especially with the market being fast-paced and increasing level of expectation from customers. So there's one quote that I would like to share with the listeners.
Nice.
This quote is by Louis Horowitz. He's actually a scholar. I think he's a scholar, right? But his quote is quite famous. So his quote goes something like this: "Not having the information you need when you need it leaves you wanting. Not knowing where to look for that information leaves you powerless. In a society where information is king, none of us can afford that." So the highlight here is actually information is king. So the more you know about your business and the market, you have a better advantage over your competitors. So I believe that companies should treasure their data as they are an asset, especially once they have been transformed to become beautiful, meaningful information.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah,
this was really good.
That was brilliant.
QX, this was an excellent and very insightful session. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, QX.
Would you like to add or say anything more?
No, that's all for me.
Okay, more quotes from QX coming. Thank you, QX, for your time. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much.
And that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in to IDC Tech Chronicles. If you like our content, don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at IDCAP and IDC Asia Pacific Group on LinkedIn. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our contact details can be found in the description box. Make sure to tune in to the next episode of IDC Tech Chronicles, where we bring you the stories behind the data.